Okay, all right, so I have 3 done so far, and I've done 2 with the folder or the pocket on the front. So when you open it up, I have a pocket on the front. I have my seam here, my binding, and then I have a pocket on the inside. So I'm going to make 2 like this with the pocket on the front, and then 2 with both pockets on the inside. And remember, we're going to leave the back side plain. So I was going to go ahead and do the next one with you again, just so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to cut this 6-inch mark up through the middle, up to on the 3-inch side. I'm going to put a little angle there and a little angle there. Okay. I'm going to turn it around. I'm going to cut on the long side that 1-inch score all the way down to the 3-inch. And then right below that 3-inch line, I'm going to angle down like that. I'll flip it over. I'm going to do the same thing. Okay. And just angle it. I'm not the best at this, but I kind of, have a little thing that I do, and it seems to be quicker for me, so you'll certainly find what works better for you. But it's better for me to make the pages first, then cut them, or score all the pages, then, cut them, and then fold them, kind of like in an assembly order. That way I don't get confused on my measurements, and because the longer that you do one sheet and then come back and do the next one later, you might forget, have to remeasure, all that, yada, yada, yada. And that little angle there, I haven't cut out yet, that little corner. So I want to actually cut that corner. And there's several ways to do it, but you can just do it like this, because you want that little angle right there when you fold your pocket. Okay. And at this point, it doesn't really matter which side you're working on. You just want this on the inside. So that's the biggest thing. So we're going to make this one with both pockets on the inside. Okay. So I'm going to fold my ends, just making sure everything's creased well. Make sure everything folds up together well. Okay. Alright. And then I'm going to flip it over, and inside that seam right there, I'm going to put my tape. On the inside. Not over the line, just right beneath it. Flip it over, and then your pockets are going to have this little flap, and that's going to be your little closure flaps, what seals your pocket against the page. So we're going to put the tape on that little fold, on the outside of that fold. If I'm giving you too much information, I apologize. I've done a few tutorials, and it would not be SuperHappyScrapper or my sister's Scrapper tutorials. They have wonderful tutorials, and I was able to follow them and not have any issue. I did purchase a tutorial from a wonderful artist, paper scrapbook artist, and I had issue with that one. The first time I put it together, I wasn't really sure which flaps I was supposed to put tape and all that. So that's the only reason why I'm telling you that it's the outside of the flap where you're putting the tape, and then that's gonna lay up against your page. Okay. I always do the middle first. For me, that is the best and simplest way. Grab it from the middle lightly, and then just add a little pressure so that you get it on there evenly. And your seam is in the middle. take the tape off of our pockets. Y'all are going to be like, wow, this is so easy. I mean, it really, once you've done it twice, I just love this style. I mean, she was really clever coming up with this because you can make it more complicated. You can make it simple. You know, you have a lot of flexibility with it. I know I keep saying that, but this is her pattern, so I don't want to take any credit for her pattern whatsoever, and it's a wonderful pattern. So just make sure that that is clear. All right. And I do know it by heart. And you know, because I've done it a few times, and I do try to make it different every time I make it. I try. You know, sometimes you don't, but I try. And I'm going to show you how I make it different. Alright, so just stick that in there. Alright, so we have our 2 pockets on the inside and our seam right here. And we're going to fold the seam where it's on the inside. And we're just going to make sure that this is pretty. I have a little hanger, so I'm just going to cut that off. Alright, I'm just going to make sure that it's as even as I can make it without breaking things, right? So, I mean, they're fairly even, and once you start putting paper on them and whatnot, it's going to come together, so. Alright, so I just kind of try to make sure that they're, and then I use this to kind of force it to be in the middle. Okay. You want to burnish all your ends. Make sure everything's all good and glued down. And it looks like I'm doing it hard, but I'm really not doing it that hard. Because like I said, the paper can, and see I didn't clean up that edge. You can see that tape coming out right there. We are going to cover that with paper, but sometimes you really have to be careful because sometimes you can't cover it. Like on the ends of your seams here, you can't cover that up. You can cut it off actually, but anyway. Anyway, we'll get to that. Alright, so I have all my base pages. Okay, so the next thing to do is to make it's going to be a pocket. It's also going to allow you to adhere it to the hinge of your book that you're going to make later on. So I'm going to get that stuff ready and clean up my mess, and I'll be right back. Alright, so the first thing that we want to do is we want to measure. We have all of our pages here, which I'm doing 4. And so you have your pockets on the inside on this page, and then you have your back page clear, right? We're not going to put any pockets on the back page. So what you want to do is you want to measure this. And this is 9 by 5. So this is perfectly 9 by 5. So what you want to do is you want to cut, and I'm using 12 by 12 paper. And technically, I guess you could use 8.5 by 11, but I feel like, I don't know, I just always use 12 by 12, y'all, so maybe you can have less scraps with the other size, I have no idea. So, if this is 9 by 5, what we need to do is measure out a piece that is, we want it to be the same width, because we're not going to have a tab or anything on this side. On this side, though, we need 2 tabs on either side to adhere it to the back. So if this is 9, we need a 1/2 inch on this side and a 1/2 inch on this side, so we need 10 by 5. So you're going to cut your paper 10 by 5. And I've already actually cut it, y'all, so sorry about that. I'm actually redoing this segment because I noticed that I had made a mistake. So anyway, so I cut all of my pages right here. They're right here. So I've got a lot of stuff going on over here. Let me move that out of the way. These are all 10 by 5. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to score it a 1/2 inch on both sides on the long side. Okay? I hope I'm in camera there. Okay? Alright. You just want to make sure that it's even with the line up there, because if you get an uneven score, that's always painful for me. So, okay. So 1/2 inch on both sides. Okay. And typically when you do this, you'll probably want to measure it before you score and cut all your paper, just to make sure that it is actually the right size, because there's nothing worse than scoring and cutting all your paper and it's not the right size, and I have done that so many times. So I have the edges here, they're going to go on the inside, on the back of that on the back of that page, and it's going to be open on the top and open on the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to score these really well, like that. And I'm going to put my tape on both flaps, on the outside of the flap, so that it would adhere to the back page, like that. There we go. I do not know that I'm a good teacher. I know that when I learn, I have to see something and understand it before I'll actually remember it and be able to do it. So I do that with my job. It's the same way. I have to look at the problem. Sometimes I have to make the problem reoccur. Sometimes I have to break it, and then I can fix it. But unless I can see it, I got nothing. You can call me and say, my computer is blue screening when I click on this icon, and it can just be just as clear as day an explanation of what is going on. But you've lost me at blue screen. I have to go, wait, let me just remote you. Let me just remote you real quick so I can see exactly what's happening. And then once I get on and I see it, I know exactly what's going on. But I'm not very good at verbal descriptions, so sometimes like those tutorials that you order online, sometimes those are hard for me. I have to see it to be able to understand it perfectly. So I'm just putting the tape on all my flaps. And let me know if I'm giving you too much information. Just please let me know, because I don't know that, you know, this may be my first and my last process. We'll say process video, because I don't want to say tutorial, because like I said, there's 3 people that are involved in this that we're doing, and we're using their designs. And so, well, actually 2. My SuperHappyScrapper, and then we're going to use the Hidden Hinge, Orta Hidden Hinge. And she has a very good tutorial for that as well. And all we're going to do with that is I'm going to show you how to measure your pages and make the hinge custom to whatever you're working with, I hope. That's my goal. That's my only goal here. I can simplify it for you, because I know what it's like. Like I said, I have to see it. So if I don't show you enough or tell you enough, please let me know, because I do not do this. This is my first one. Okay. All right. So all my pages have the scrappy tape on there. I say scrappy, y'all, and I don't know if I ever showed you what tape I was using. But that is the tape that I am using. I'm from Memphis. We have generic terms for everything. If I say I'm going to have a Coke, I'm probably going to drink Sprite. Okay. If I say I'm using scrappy tape, well, that could be any kind of tape that is used for putting the book together. Same with Pop Dots. I'm sure that is a brand of some sort. I have no idea. But foam squares, foam tape, whatever, it is all Pop Dots to me. So I got distracted. My dog is scratching for some strange reason. I do not know why. Oh, and now she's laying down. You know how dogs scratch to make their bed? Well, she's doing that on a wooden floor. That doesn't hardly make sense to me. Alright, so this is the critical moment. You want to make sure that you have all your pages lined up the proper way, because you don't want to accidentally put it on the front, okay? So just make sure that you have them all facing the right way. And I usually turn them a certain way so that when I grab it, I know what's going on. And it doesn't hurt to double check, let me just tell you. Because I'm sure I've had lots of upside down pages. It's okay as long as you figure it out before you adhere it to your hinge, your master hinge. If you adhere it to your master hinge, there may be a problem. Now, and what I just did is I took both pieces of scrappy tape off, and normally I would not have done that, okay? I do not take off more tape than I actually need because I'm going to try to fit. I like to be able to get one side down and then the next side down. So I'm just going to line this up to the best of my ability here. That looks pretty straight, I hope. And then I'm going to come over here and see it's just a little bit off, but that happens. And I'll tell you what I do. And it's actually really off. To me, it's off quite a bit, but that's okay. I'll show you what we do so you don't run into that same issue. All right, so it's just a little off. I don't know if you can see that. See how it's over just a little bit? And it looks like it's fairly straight on the back side. But you know what? I'm not going to worry about that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to trim it. I'm going to trim it even with my page. Because you're not going to notice. I promise you, you're not going to notice. Okay? So just cut that right off. Because you're going to be able to make up for what's not right here when you put your hinge on. Okay? So there you go. There's an error in action. You know, maybe you wouldn't normally know how to handle a situation like that. And see, and look, there's even a little hang off right there. So I am, well, and that's actually part, we're probably going to leave that there. And the reason why is I want the book intact, the page intact. The little flap here, I'm not that worried about. So, and you know, if it bothers you too much, see there's just a little bit right there that's off, you can always put, you know, lace there or some type of embellishment. There's a way to cover it up, okay? We'll be more careful on the next pages. But basically, so this is the front, the pockets, the seam, the binding, or I keep saying binding, and this is going to be a binding of sorts, okay? But this is on the inside of the page. And then we put our back on here, and we have a hole all the way through. See that? And that is going to make a pocket, and we're going to adhere our binding on the inside of here, okay? So we'll go ahead and do the rest of them. And we'll try to be a little more careful on the lineup. And like I said, I like to do one piece of tape at a time. And I didn't actually flatten that well. All right, so the best thing to do, maybe to line it up this way. Make sure it's right, yeah. And then, so, this is the hardest part, y'all. But you will learn that there's a way to fix it. It just amazes me when some people make their albums and you watch them, like my sister's Scrapper or SuperHappyScrapper. They are so good at it. I tell you, they can just put those pages in there. But I'm sure they go through the learning phases like we do. Now see, I have just a little bit hanging on the outside, so I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm just going to trim it. This is going to be on the inside of the book. It is really not going to be that big of a deal. But I do want to trim it. I want to make it flush. Okay? So we have the front, the inside, and then where we put our pocket. If you want to call it a pocket, it's all the way through, right? Okay. All right, so we got 2 down. Alright. This is really hard to do on video. You know, when you just do it and you're carefree, it seems to work a little better, but that's okay. Nothing I ever make is perfect, so don't claim to be perfect at all. I claim to be patient enough to make it work. And that's about what it takes, is patience. And don't get ahead of yourself. Some people just take all their tape off and then they just lay everything down. I just don't understand. I'm just not that good myself, but alright. Well, see, each page is kind of off. And it could have something to do with my measurements, but that's okay. I'm just going to trim that. I hope you can see where I'm trimming. I'm not actually cutting the page that we made. I'm just cutting the flap that we made, okay? Don't cut your page. If something's not right with your page, you can use a, you can use a border punch, or you can figure out a way. You can use lace all the way down. You can use, washi tape. And people, trust me, people are not going to realize that it's a mistake. Sometimes, you know what they say, some mistakes are happy mistakes. They make you be more creative, and you do something different that's out of the box that somebody wouldn't normally do. And sometimes you do it out of necessity. Okay. Alright, so I just took off one piece, and then I'm going to line this up. You know, it could be because I have my glasses on too. I don't usually use my glasses when I craft. I find that they interfere with my crafting. I get a headache if I don't have them on when I'm working on my computer, or if I'm driving, but when I'm crafting, they just bother me. I feel like they're foreign on my face. Okay. Alright. So that one's not so bad. Okay. This works. It's a little off. And if you're a perfectionist like me, you might just trim it a little bit. Just a little bit. Not trimming the page, just trimming the flap. I'm not trimming much, just a sliver. And that's on the same side. And I want it to go onto my binding as straight as possible. So therefore I need that straight edge. And you'll see what I mean. Alright. So we have all 4 open, or done, rather. And let's just make sure we got them all on the right side. So pocket, seam, pocket, flap. That's good. Pocket, pocket, seam, flap. That one's good. Pocket, pocket, seam, flap. Good there. Pocket, pocket, seam, flap. Good there. Okay. Alright. Yeah, just kind of look at them, make sure they're all right around the right. Okay, so now at this point, I might work on my binding. At this point, I'm really ready. That's what I talk about in my videos, that do your pages first. You can take it a step further, because there's things that you're going to want to take into consideration. If you're going to have tags on the top, or photo mats, if you're going to have them coming out, or photo mats on the side, which this one we are going to have a photo mat on the side, you'll want to consider how far you want them to stick out. And that is how wide you're going to make your cover. Okay? So your covers are last. And I always kind of guess it. But so basically we want to measure. We know this is 9, right? This is 9. So we want to start with a 12 by 12 piece of paper. And Now this is just what I do. This is not in stone. I mean, somebody might say, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're doing it that way. This is just how I do it. And you don't have to do it this way. Just showing you how I do it, because maybe it might make it a little more simple for you. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this to 9 inches. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and make sure that, I need to clean up my mess. Make sure, measure, right? Just measure it. Make sure that looks good. It does. It fits perfectly. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and work on my binding. And this is a hidden hinge. And you always, long side, you're going to work on the long side, and you always start out with 1 inch. And you could even start out with more than 1 inch. Depending on how many pages you have and how wide your gusset is going to be. If you are going to add embellishments to all your pages and have flips and flaps, I do 1/2 inch gusset. I think Kathy Orta's tutorial, I think she does, I want to say, I think she does like, I want to say 1/4 of an inch. I could be wrong, but it's a small gusset. So I do half. I do half. And I usually do 1. But since I'm doing 4 pages, I'm gonna leave a little more on my edge. You'll want to do the math, because you need enough 1/2 inches for every page, and there's going to be 3. There's going to be 1.5 inches that you need for each page. Period. When I do a bigger book, I usually only have 1 inch on the end. Okay, but since I have a smaller book, I'm going to do 1.5 inches. What this 1.5 inches is, this is where you're adhering it to the book, and it's going to give your binding more strength. And speaking of strength, some people use things called tie-back. They'll use tie-back in their binding, and that makes it stronger, and I suggest you Google that. I do not, but that might be my bad. I don't know. So it's a Memphis phrase, but alright. So all I'm going to do, I have my 1.5 inch here, and I'm just going to go, it's going to be real simple, y'all. It keeps the math easy too when you do 1/2 inch. Because when you're trying to sit there and count 8s, oh, it's a nightmare. Oops. So we got 1/2, 1/2, 1/2. This is 1 hinge right here. The first 2 are 1 hinge. This is your gusset. So 1/2, 1/2. And basically, I just go 1/2 crazy, right? Get my 1/2s in there. They're all 1/2s, all right? And then I'll count. So that's 1 hinge, that's 2 hinges, 3 hinges, okay? So I still need some more, but since I have a short scoreboard, I have to flip over. All right. So all these are just 1/2 inches, and I'm just going back over it because I have such a short board. I do love this board, but it's short. Okay. 1/2. And this part's kind of tricky, right? Because you got to flip it over. And when you flip it over, it fell on 1/2, so we're good. So I have 1, 2, 3, gusset, 4, gusset, 5, oh, we're only doing 4. See, I think I'm doing 6. So I got 1 gusset, 2 gusset, 3 gusset, 4 gusset. So I went over just a little bit. That's okay. We don't have to fold it. All right. Okay. So that was probably confusing. So we're going to do that again. And that's okay. I use a lot of black paper. Now you know why I buy so much paper in my hauls. I think you get the gist, but I just want to make sure. I'm going to do it again because I threw off at the end, and I just want to make sure that we are clear. Okay, so my page is 9, so I'm going to cut this at 9. And you know, and you can take a little pen and mark it as you go if you wanted to. There's no reason why you couldn't, as long as you do it on the back side, you know, it wouldn't be, it would be hidden. So like I said, since I'm only doing 4 pages, I'm going to start off at 1.5. If you're going to do 6 pages, you're going to want to start off at 1 inch because you're not going to have enough for a 1 inch gusset all the way across. So we're going to go, got 1.5 here, we're going to go half, half, that's a hinge, gusset, half, half, gusset, half, half, gusset, okay, gusset, gusset. So half, make sure we line up, which we do. Got lucky, it lines up even. That's what happens when you have 1/2 inch lines. So we got hinge, hinge, hinge. So I need one more. Hinge. Okay. Flip this over because I have a short board, so I've got to fix it there on the other side. All right. All right, and I'm going to grab a pen just so we can look at this together so it makes sense. Because I'm trying to make it easier, not harder. So these are all half. So this is 1.5. Okay. So this is a hinge. Okay. This is a gusset. Hinge, gusset. Hinge, gusset. So we have 1, 2, 3, gusset, and this is a hinge. Okay, and then at the end here we need 1.5, and that's just for when we adhere our book. So 4. Here we go. 1.5. And then I'm just going to cut it. My dog is unhappy. I sure hope y'all can't hear that. Alright, so do you see that? We're keeping it simple. We're doing 1/2 inch all the way down. That works, y'all. That works real well. 1/2 inch. The only thing you have to be worried about is if you add more pages, you may have to take from your sides, okay? So you want at least 1 inch on your sides. You need 1 inch on your sides, and I'll show it to you when we actually put the binding in place. But that is the concept. And that's going to give you a nice gusset to where you can have all kinds of embellishments. You can make it as fat as you want. Trust me, I know this. You know, I mean, if you go real crazy, you might want to go a little bigger on your gusset, and you can certainly do that. You just want to make sure that you have enough paper, which is why I use the 12 by 12. I always start out my hinge with 12 by 12. I don't care what size book I'm making. I start out with the 12 by 12 so that I don't accidentally run out halfway through. And sometimes I still run out halfway through. So, and then I got to start over. You know how many hinges that I have in my closet that didn't work out? Okay, so the first two lines here where the arrow, each arrow is what's going to fold up. That's going to make your hinge, okay? So we're going to fold it, and actually we're going to do it on the bottom because I don't want that to show. So we're going to fold it there. The first, see, that's the first score that we made. And then you're just going to kind of fan fold it, right? To the best of our ability here. And sometimes you may need to score a little harder than I do. That looks okay. All right. Hopefully, we'll see. And then the next one, I'm going to fold it in like this. And you can even use, like I said, use a pen. If you have a hard time counting like I do, if you lose count after 2, use a pen. It's just not that big of a deal. You haven't invested in the hinge yet. This you can throw away if you mess it up. Not a big deal. You have your pages, they're safe and sound. Right here, they're safe. We're not going to do anything with the pages yet. So we just want to get the hinge right. So, and then we're going to do the next one where the arrow is. And then I'll show you once we have it all folded. Then the next one. And see, I was a little off, but you know what? I don't care because I'm going to cover it with paper anyway. So I was a little off. And you'll see when I show you. Or no, I wasn't. I was just right. Lordy, all I can tell y'all is it's Friday and I have worked all day. My buffer is overflowing. I probably should try to do this on a Saturday when I'm fresh. That's okay. It worked out perfectly. Okay. Gosh, I hope I don't confuse you. I sure don't want to do that because that's not the goal here. All right. See this? See where the G's are? See where the arrows are? And this is 1.5. Okay. So you're gonna see. This is what you're gonna see when you're just gonna see the gussets. Your hinges are gonna close up, okay? See that? Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our tape and lay it inside here on one side, and don't cross over that line, that scored line. And actually, if you do, it's not that big of a deal because this is going to be adhered to the spine, so it's really not that big of a deal. It's just I have a real bad habit of it hanging over, and then looking at it when I'm done and going, all right, great, what am I going to do now? So where those arrows are, I'm just going to put tape on the inside. And this, let me just say again, this is Kathy Orta's design. This is her hidden hinge. And I personally think this is much better than Stack the Deck because it is, to me, it makes me feel like it is more sturdy, more secure. Stack the Deck is only one layer of paper between the pages that's holding the pages, whereas this is folded and it's 2. So it just makes me think that it's more secure. All right, see where the tape is? All right, so now we're going to start taking the tape off. Oh, and you do want to burnish. You definitely want to burnish that. Just get all the air bubbles out. All right. Take off the tape. And I always flip it over, start from the middle. I just hold it lightly, start from the middle and squeeze. And see, I have hanging off tape. See, I did it. I always forget. That's okay though. I'm going to show you why that's okay. All right, we did the next one. Going to fold it over gently. And I do it that way because if the sides get adhered before the middle does, then you can potentially get some uneven stuff going on, and that'll just break your heart, truthfully. So in the middle. Okay, it's going to get kind of curly here. All right. Grab it from the middle lightly and seam it. Okay. All right, this is our finished product. We have half an inch. If you're not comfortable with half an inch, you can do bigger, you know. This is just what I do. All right. It seems to work okay for me. And then I burnish it down. Then I flip it the other way and burnish it the other way. Burnish, burnish. All right. Now, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to dry fit your page. Okay. You are going to cut these at an angle. If you try to put this in and they're not cut at an angle, it's not going to work well. Okay. You see that it is just about the same exact size. So what you need to do is, I usually take it like this, I fold it like this, and I'll do it from this side. And there's my first hinge, and I just angle it. Nothing real fancy, but I do kind of do a little sharp angle. Oops, sorry. See? Fold down the next one, and I only start the cut or end the cut at the score line. See that one? And that's going to help your page to fit nicely. Good slant. You want a good slant on there. Okay. And that's one reason why you can kind of have glue on the edge there. Because you're going to cut it off anyway. And technically, I probably would have put the tape on first before I did that, because the tape is kind of a pain when you're cutting it at an angle, but that's okay. So technically, if you want to put the tape on there first and then cut your angles, that might be the most efficient way. All right, so basically this is what your hinge is going to look like. It's got angles. See that? See how the ends are angled? And then we're going to dry fit our page. And make sure that it fits okay. And that does fit okay. Okay, that fits pretty decent. I don't know if you can see that well, but that fits. And technically, you really want to dry fit them all, because sometimes you need to make that angle a little more deeper. So you just want to make sure that your page is going to go on and sit flat, you know? Okay, all right. So now you want to put tape on your hinges. And I put the tape on the hinges at the very top. And there's a reason why I do that, because when you're putting your page on the hinge, you don't always want to go all the way down to the bottom. And if you put your tape all the way down to the bottom and you don't put your page all the way down, then you have glue that's hanging out of your page. And there's nothing to do with that. I mean, you can't, I mean, you might could do something to fix that, but it's, to me, it's like the biggest pain ever. So I put it as close to the edge as possible. All right. Like that. I think I'm still recording. Yeah.